Hello, my beautiful people. My name is Aretino. Here is the news for today. Barry Andrew, Chief Observer EU Election Observation Mission to Nigeria, has said that there had been a lot of obstruction to the will of the people. Security was extremely negative and discouraged Nigeria from exercising their democratic right, even with the improvement in transparency, early opening to ballot and uploading results to the IRF in real time. Please watch this video, guys.
Our preliminary statement concluded that there had been a lot of obstruction of the will of the people in the governorship and state assembly elections that took place on Saturday. Nevertheless, we also were able to record on a more positive note that civil society organizations have really been working hard to try to defend democratic standards here in Nigeria, and I think some credit is due there. I think the two things that I take away particularly is on the security front. It was extremely negative on Saturday, and it clearly discouraged some people from exercising their democratic right to make a choice, disenfranchise them. But also on the transparency side, there was some improvements in the performance of the election day process, the opening of the ballots. The polling units were on time for most of the time, and also the uploading of results onto the results viewing platform was done in real time as had been promised. So it was a mixed bag, but the overall voter participation on Saturday was extremely low and unfortunately doesn't tell a very happy tale.
Indeed, when you said there were some improvements in transparency of the process, from your observation, where are the areas that were lagging? Where could those other improvements could have happened?
Yeah, well, I think most of the problems occurred during the presidential election, where polling units opened very late, where distribution of sensitive election material took place in a fairly haphazard way, where the uploading of results onto IREV were very tardy, and as late as 10 p.m. on that day there were still no results uploaded. And as we all were led to believe, this would be a great game changer where real-time information would be available, and that wasn't the case. And then there were major problems in collation centres. In some cases, collation centres weren't open. And to go back a little bit to BVAT, sometimes they weren't operated properly by polling officers. So they were the main issues around transparency. And clearly, because that didn't operate very well on the 25th of February, it discouraged a lot of people from voting, because they came to the conclusion that their vote didn't matter. And that's a really bad situation to be in, because already you have a low voter participation, now compounded by a lack of faith in the integrity of the overall process. So we tried to draw attention to that in the preliminary statement which we made this afternoon.
Right, so your sense then is that there were lots of small fire outbreaks, if you like, in this governorship election that had to be put out one by one, and you think the authorities managed to keep a handle on it and it didn't become an inferno. But you've said that your group's mission in Nigeria is to strengthen democracy. Do you think the election met the standard for strengthening democracy based on criteria that are internationally acceptable?
Well, first of all, to draw that conclusion, it would require us to compare it to previous elections. And that's not something we do. So this is a fresh mandate, where this mission looks at this election and this election alone. And at the end of our process, which is coming in June, we'll publish a final report which will contain conclusions and recommendations. And it's in that report that you will find the type of conclusions I think that you're referring to. But it is impossible to ignore the deficits that have occurred during the course of this overall general election, including the presidential. And it is difficult as well to point to progress being made in terms of the democratic story of Nigeria. So it's premature for us to draw those conclusions. Today's preliminary statement is based on what we observed so far, and as I said, our long-term observers are still at collation centres today, and the process is ongoing. But unfortunately, quite a lot of negatives.